DDR recently kicked off a new event, the First Classic Challenge. This is a staple theme that we see all the time, and for obvious reasons. Adding new challenge charts to old songs is a no-brainer. Taking a song that people love and breathing new life into it with an exciting twist and a new complex layer of difficulty. It sounds good on paper, but when you think about it, you're putting blind faith into the developers to not only pick a song that you like, but also produce something fun enough that you're willing to spend money on it, when you could just do all that yourself. Even all the way back on the PS1, Konami has always given players the tools to make their own step charts in a dedicated edit mode, and now with Stepmania, anyone can freely write a chart tailor-made to exactly what they want, with any song ever made. So then why is it so important that we get new official charts for these old songs? Well, it's called the sunk cost fallacy. A lot of players have put so much money into this game, they're hoping that eventually they will put out something really cool that everyone likes. You know, if a game you like is just taking L after L, eventually you're going to begin to feel a little bit of shame for being a fan of that game. But if it does something great and everyone loves it, that's enough to justify all of the time and money that you've spent. So yes, while you can download one program and make infinity step charts for free right now, it's still important that the official game is something that you can be proud of enjoying. No matter how much you like, say, Pal World, for example, nothing could ever top if they actually gave Pikachu a gun. So let's see if I can't warm up these old atrophied review muscles and determine whether or not we can chalk up a win for the game with these songs. Oh yeah, now this is a classic. You kids wouldn't understand, but this was some real cutting-edge, hardcore music. Let's listen to some more recent DDR songs for comparison. Nope. They just don't make them like they used to. The chart itself is exactly what you would expect, and I would consider this to be the baseline passable chart going into the event. There are a ton of 16th note bursts, which seem to be the go-to in recent years when making new challenge charts. There are some 16th note rhythms in the song itself. With the Vox, you can faintly hear it. However, there's one section that egregiously ignores it and puts the notes on the offbeat. Leading me to believe it wasn't really taken into consideration. So it is overcharted, but also pretty sanitized, which typically is what we want to see, but the song itself is pretty repetitive, and it's also only like a minute long, so in this case there should be some wacky stuff to make sure your eyes don't glaze over trying to play it. I'm glad they included a souped-up version of the iconic ending jump stream. Honestly, it would have been criminal if they left that out. Overall, it isn't a bad chart, but the expert chart already is serviceable enough for this song, and I don't think enough was done here to sort of prove Be Lovin' needed to be picked over anything else for the event. Next is Holic. I wouldn't expect too many of you to remember this song other than for its main standout feature being that it's in 7/8 time. Now there's 1,000 songs with all kinds of crazy gimmicks nowadays, but while songs like Be Lovin' are, Weenie Hut Jr. by comparison, songs from Tak, I would say, are still pretty timeless. To me, this song sounds like something you would hear while playing as Shadow in Sonic Adventure 2 or something. We have a lot of great rhythms with the percussion as well as the acid bass line, so 16th notes don't seem out of place this time. Whether or not those rhythms are being purposefully followed, again, is up for debate, although there are plenty of nice moments that do line up. If I was making the chart, I maybe would have stopped short of these patterns. Not sure what they're called. I'll just call them Legend of Max triplets. But I really don't have much else to say because this is just a well put together chart. Compared to B11, you can really tell the difference between having to sort of make stuff up as opposed to actually having the notes go to the music. In my opinion, this one is a good choice. Hana Ran Man Flowers, or if you're a dumb American, it was just called Flowers. Now we are entering dangerous territory. They are really playing with fire here. I'm being serious when I say that I'm sure there are some people out there that this is their favorite song ever, not just in DDR, so they can't afford to mess around and just dump out a new chart. Remember, this is forever going to be stapled onto the original moving forward. And luckily, they pulled it off here in a way that is actually astounding, knowing what I'm going to be talking about by the end of this video. This is what I assume the objective was with the Classic Challenge event. Finally, we get to play this, beloved song at its full potential. The original chart is from back in the day when it wasn't really expected that the notes followed every beat of the song, I know, and the song's popularity may have something to do in part because it was so accessible in that way. It was 8 feet in Supernova, but really is more of like a 7.5. And this was before there was a real crackdown, making sure the charts flowed well and avoiding double steps, so they were all over the place. This challenge chart alleviates all of those issues. Finally, you can step to all of the rhythms that were there the whole time. Even the patterns get a huge improvement. Those awkward repeat crossovers from the original, flip one arrow and now they're Scoobies. This chart is an all-around, thoughtful evolution from the original in just about every way. We all know the song is amazing, and now we have the dream chart to go along with it. Of course, that means that it gets my official seal of approval. Next up is Übertreffen. Would this even be considered a classic? I don't know. In my brain, DDRX is still relatively new. Now, it would seem at first that out of the 5 songs they chose for the event, this one would be the most fitting to receive a challenge chart. With its constant fast rhythms, every other game to feature this song already utilizes those rhythms pretty well, but those games all use your hands, as if you're playing a piano. Those games can incorporate all the different chords and drum beats while also maintaining all the notes in the melody, which is something you can't really do in DDR. Otherwise, the entire chart would end up being a non-stop stream of 16th notes. And that's where these sorts of charts fall into the trap of having to pick and choose different parts from the sea of notes to make the patterns from. And since it isn't just a straight stream throughout the song, they of course get way overzealous with crossovers to compensate. And I understand these charts all contain a nice homage to the original. That doesn't mean you bring back the 270 spins and make them faster. That was the worst part of the original. So, Über alles, for the expert chart, they didn't attempt to explore the full potential of the song because, they weren't expected to back then. They bring the song back, then they go way overboard in the other direction, and it still doesn't really work out. What seemed like a good choice once you get to actually making the chart, turns out maybe they could have picked a better song. Luckily, this is Classic Challenge 1, implying they plan to make more of these, so it isn't like Übertreffen is permanently taking away the opportunity for something else. We'll just have to wait and see. Alright, time for the reason you're watching this video. Paranoia Evolution. Going into this, I thought, it can't be that bad. Click on the video, and it's a fucking 18. Well, that didn't last very long. Before I, go off on this chart, I'll point out 2 patterns that I like and that I think fit well with the song. Pattern 1, pattern 2, and that's pretty much it. Everything else, as we know, is either these ungodly crossover patterns that absolutely zero players were asking for, or when it's not doing that, like in the opening run, it's these almost placeholder candle patterns. There's essentially no in-between here. Like, you couldn't come up with anything. First, and most obvious, is that this chart did not need to be an 18. Paranoi-wa Coquette Clean Mix was perfectly content with being a 15. In fact, when that chart dropped in 2014, as you can see in this insane-looking announcement, it was the hardest chart released for that drop. The leap from this chart needs to be challenging to back-and-forth crossovers at 200 BPM is pretty crazy. They skipped so many steps when considering what to put in the chart. You know, I'm honestly surprised none of these were shock arrow charts. That would have put a new challenging spin on an old song from when shock arrows hadn't been invented yet. Might as well try it. When people saw Paranoi-wa Challenge for the first time, it was forever sealed in their mind to associate those types of inappropriately fast crossover dumps with being a joke. Now, when you want to meme on a chart, the go-to thing would be to subtly slip in those patterns into a song. So when the patterns in this genuine attempt are difficult to discern from the Paranoi-wa meme patterns, this chart, by association, also becomes a joke. The other problem is that this chart undercuts the decision to pick Paranoia Evolution specifically for the event. First of all, this song does already have an X Special chart, so if I was in charge, it wouldn't have even been in the running. If they're just going to haphazardly dump arrows all over, why not pick Paranoia Max Dirty Mix, or Paranoia Rebirth, or Afronova, or Healing Vision? Why not just make a new song where those notes actually go to the music? Otherwise, for a specifically nostalgia-themed event like the quote-unquote classic challenge, it would seem the classic status doesn't demand much respect from the developers as it does the players. Also, and this is a problem I have anytime they add new challenge charts, imagine years from now some new player is just starting to really get into the game and they're like, oh man, I want to check out some of the OG songs. They find Paranoia Evolution and it's like, what the fuck? There was a level 18 in the year 2000? They just get done playing like Higher and My Summer Love and then just get one shot by... It's like, what the hell is even happening there? It goes by so fast you can't even tell. You know, I guess I'll have to consult the how to execute video. Hopefully it's by Firing Squad. Let's get close.